Welcome to the motherfucking We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. On the heels of her big win over former champion Sarah Mahfoud this past weekend, becoming full-fledged WBC champion at featherweight, Matchroom plots next 3 fights for Skye Nicolson. A homecoming fight, Raven Chapman, and then Amanda Serrano. An ambitious schedule is being mapped out for the newly crowned WBC featherweight champion, Skye Nicolson.
10-0 with 1 KO.
The pot at the end of the rainbow is a hope-for undisputed showdown with Ring Magazine champion and lineal Amanda Serrano. Nicolson claimed the WBC belt previously held by Serrano, who has also the WBA, IBF, and WBO titles. With Amanda Serrano, it's nothing personal. Nicolson insisted of the dream fight. If you don't want to fight me, that's fine, but let us know what you're doing with all the belts because I want them. But if you do want to fight, I'm ready when you are.
Sounds good. Knowing that Amanda Serrano may be facing Katie Taylor in her next fight up there at 140.
That while Skye Nicolson is saying this, Amanda Serrano is otherwise preoccupied, or she could be, but Skye's still pushing for it. She's saying she wants that fight because Amanda still has those belts. Nicolson trains in England, where she's fought 3 times. She's also logged 1 fight each in Ireland, Mexico, and Australia, with hopes of adding to the last one. I now need to speak to the people in Australia because she needs that homecoming defense quite quickly, said Hearn in an interview posted on Matchroom Boxing's YouTube channel. A fight on home soil is hardly the endgame. Hearn is determined to then have Nicolson right back in the ring in September. That plan could call for a dangerous mandatory title defense versus ring-rated number 4, Raven Chapman. A second 5-on-5 tournament between Matchroom and Queensbury, who promotes Chapman, is being planned for September, and I've said it in several videos already. That is the ideal fight for the Matchroom versus Queensbury tournament in September on UK soil.
Yes!
Raven Chapman is the mandatory, noted Hearn. That's the fight I'll speak to George Warren of Queensbury about, because there will be another 5-on-5 later on in the year, and it's exactly the sort of fight we should be looking to put on. Skye's doing what any champion should do, and that is to chase the very best in their division. And for her right now, it is Amanda Serrano. I want to see her make a homecoming defense, then fight Raven Chapman, and then hopefully the fight with Amanda Serrano becomes big enough for her to accept.
That's what got my attention.
Not the Serrano fight, because we already knew she's been calling for a Serrano fight, and not even the Raven Chapman mandatory title defense, which we've already talked about several times on the channel. It's that they plan on getting Skye back out there, and they plan on doing it very soon in her native Australia. I wasn't aware.
They gotta move quick.
Given the big plans that they have for Skye in the next 3 fights, her next opponent, I'd wager, isn't going to be a risky opponent. Not as risky as a Raven Chapman. If we're talking about a hometown title defense,
It's gonna be a gimme fight.
when you think about how many countries Skye Nicolson has already boxed in, the United Kingdom, the United States, Mexico.
She's heading to Australia now.
That's the advantage of her having signed with Matchroom. That Matchroom does shows in all these different countries around the world, and she is the beneficiary of that, getting to fight in all those different markets and garner that experience, little by little boosting her profile to where she becomes the second most recognizable featherweight in the world. Now amplified because she's a champion.
She's the A-side to almost everybody at featherweight, save Amanda Serrano.
But Amanda's not there, and she's not going to be there in the foreseeable future. She's moving up to 140. She may be facing Katie for a second time.
So Skye's got the run of the place.
Who does she fight in Australia in the very near future in what is set to be her homecoming fight? I can only deduce that they're not going to put her in there with somebody risky, somebody dangerous, because they plan on doing that in September. My guess, maybe they put her in there with Nina Menke
Of Germany.
She's in the WBC's rankings. She's a serviceable fighter, a good fighter, good enough that Amanda was about to fight her, and if she's good enough for Amanda, then she's certainly good enough for Skye.
Good, but beatable.
It's what they're looking for, to get Skye out there over the summer months. That is summer in the northern hemisphere, but winter in the southern. What are the summer months for us? Those are the winter months to Australians.
Does it snow in Australia? On the mountain ranges, maybe, but not in the coastal cities and the densely populated areas of Australia, it doesn't.
Most part of Australia is as hot as the devil's armpit.
All right, National Geographic, back to the boxing.
Here's what we know. They plan on getting Skye out there one more time before September, and Queensbury plans on doing the same thing when it comes to Raven Chapman.
So long as they make it through their next upcoming fights, ladies and gentlemen,
We're going to get a doozy of a fight in September. I'm looking forward to it. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, the undercard for the upcoming Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia fight in May has been officially announced. Mario Barrios will be facing Fabian Maidana, Brandon Figueroa will be facing Jesse Magdaleno, and Eimantas Stanionis will be facing Gabriel Maestre. Not a particularly strong undercard, though because it's for a Canelo Alvarez fight,
doesn't really have to be.
you don't have to spruce up this undercard like you might some others, because Canelo Alvarez is a bankable draw. He by himself will sell the card with little to no help from what's in the undercard. You will also notice that Mario Barrios and Eimantas Stanionis, what remains of the PBC's welterweight stable stronghold,
They're going to be fighting.
and if Mario Barrios is facing Fabian Maidana and Eimantas Stanionis is facing Gabriel Maestre, what that means is that neither of them are facing Jaron Ennis.
He's supposed to be fighting Cody Crowley now.
Now that he has reached a settlement with his former promoter, Now Boxing,
The complaint was dismissed with prejudice.
we talked about this in my previous video, and now Jaron Ennis can move forward with his career without restriction. The ring has confirmed that Ennis has reached a settlement agreement with estranged promoter Now Boxing. The development comes 7 weeks after the unbeaten IBF welterweight champion filed a multi-count lawsuit alleging breach of contract. Ennis sought relief in excess of $1 million from the case filed with the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. A settlement hearing was held on Monday before Magistrate Judge Jose R. Artiga. The matter followed by Tuesday's ruling to close the case, so ordered by the District Judge Michael M. Baleson. The complaint was dismissed with prejudice.
He's free to go.
Free to do business with whoever he wants to do business with, but most speculate that he's already doing business with the PBC.
Or he will.
The heart of the lawsuit focused on Ennis' inactivity relative to the number of contractually guaranteed bouts. Ennis signed with Now Boxing in 2019 when it was previously run by Cameron Duncan, who passed away in January. Kelly Duncan, Cameron's widow, has since claimed control of the company. Ennis has not fought since Duncan's passing or at all since last July. According to the promotional contract, a copy of which was obtained by The Ring, Ennis was due to fight 4 times, each in years 1 and 2, and 3 times each in years 3 and 4.
That was supposed to be 14 fights over 4 years.
Ennis has fought just 10 times over that period. The 2020 pandemic played a role, though the terms were still never met before or after the global crisis.
His issue with Now Boxing was activity, but now that he's not with Now Boxing and he may be jumping into bed with the PBC, is that still going to be an issue?
Concern was expressed in writing over Kelly Duncan's ability to run the company. Now that her husband passed away, her lack of experience and communication were both cited in the original complaint and the March 15th amended version. Ennis has been ready, willing, and able to participate in the number of bouts specified in the agreement and has made defendant aware of his willingness. Attorney Arnold Joseph argued on behalf of Ennis in the February 7th complaint. To date, defendant has not advised whether Ms. Duncan or defendant is a licensed promoter. Plaintiff avers that Mrs. Duncan has absolutely no experience promoting professional boxing events. Plaintiff's last bout took place on July 8th of last year. Defendant has failed to offer any bout opportunities since that date. It was acknowledged in the complaint that the 2019 agreement carried a clause that provided Now Boxing with the unilateral right to extend his contract in the event he ever won a major title. Ennis defeated Karen Chukatsian in January of last year in Washington, D.C. to win the interim IBF 147-pound title, his lone defense, and last fight was in July, a 9th-round stoppage of Roman Villa in Atlantic City, New Jersey. An upgrade to full title status came last fall. Ennis was ordered to face Terrence Bud Crawford in a title consolidation bout. The fight was ordered by the IBF shortly after Crawford's July 29th stoppage win over Errol Spence in their Ring Undisputed Championship. Crawford cited 2 days before the deadline an inability to enter negotiations given an existing rematch clause with Errol Spence. Sanctioning bodies traditionally do not recognize clauses external to their orders.
So they stripped him of the IBF and they gave it to Jaron Boots Ennis, so here we are.
With that came Ennis' upgrade to full IBF welterweight champion. He was recently ordered to face top-rated challenger Cody Crowley, but has failed to reach terms for the mandatory title fight. The existing promotional issues and inability to negotiate terms with Crowley were cited in the amended March 16th complaint. Typically, the promoter of the title holder, in this case the defendant, is the promoter who stages the bout, argued Ennis' attorney. That promoter generally takes steps to ensure that his fighter is placed in an optimal position both monetarily and with respect to other variables associated with the staging of a boxing match. The defendant has failed to finalize a deal with the challenger's promoter for the bout. Defendant's failure puts plaintiff's status as champion in jeopardy. It's important to note that while Jaron Ennis is a network and promotional free agent, in this situation, Cody Crowley is the PBC fighter. Cody Crowley is represented by TGB Promotions, Tom Brown. There still exists the matter of Ennis making his way back to the ring. Unconfirmed rumors had swirled of his placement on the May 4th Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia undercard in Vegas. It would mark his highest profile assignment to date, a much-needed career boost given his talent. But the card has been officially announced, and Jaron Ennis isn't on it.
I don't know if they're gonna add him later on.
They don't seem to be able to reach a deal with Cody Crowley. Money is the matter, I've no doubts, and I just feel like if there was someone else at the helm of all of this, that fight would have been done by now.
It should have been done by now. This ain't the kind of fight you're supposed to spend this much time on.
That's why I'm always scratching my head when it comes to this Boots guy. What the hell is everybody so overexcited about? He neither has the strength of resume or strength of schedule to warrant the boisterous claims, reputation, and reactions that he's been getting.
The way it looks.
If they can finally get this fucking Cody Crowley fight over the line, it seems that Eimantas Stanionis and Mario Barrios are over there at the PBC. And if he jumps into bed with them, those are the fights that he might be able to have. The question is, are those fights really worth it?
Dealing with the PBC, who don't have that many fight dates.
That if the virtue of doing business with the PBC is it might get you a Mario Barrios fight, or it might get you a Stanionis fight, is it really worth it? That's a story only time can tell.
We'll see.
Can they make those fights in a timely fashion?
We'll see.
They haven't even made this fight in a timely fashion.
Let's move on.
For me, it was disturbing watching him, put his career out there like that. Put pretty much what he does out there, in the public eye. I mean, that's something that if you want to get plastered, if you want to drink, that's something that you do at home. You can't be doing that at night at the fights. Cameras are around, people are constantly videotaping you, kids are around. You got, fans, millions of fans watch that video, little boys and girls that look up to you. And what type of, message are you trying to send to those young children out there that's admiring you, and even the up and coming fighters. However, I would say, the apology, it shows maturity. It shows that I believe that he really feels bad about it. You don't just come out with an apology like that and be sincere about it. He seemed like he was sincere about it. He was embarrassed, I'm sure. And I think moving forward, he's going to make better decisions. The fact that he's in camp, that's a bit disturbing as well. I don't care how many weeks is out. One of the things that you mentioned, Paulie, you didn't drink during camp. You don't drink during camp. That's a no-no. Because the alcohol, it doesn't blend well with the training and staying up late and, being dehydrated the next day and sparring and going into work. You got to be clean. You understand, you're doing that stuff, you're not going to perform at your absolute best for that long. Yes, he is young. However, your career doesn't last that long, like you said, Paulie.
Catches up to you.
It will catch up with you eventually. But, man, all the eyes are on you, Dave. It's bad, but it's bad. However, it is what it is now. It's water under the bridge.
What most comes to mind as we hear Timothy Bradley and all the other good guys at Pro Box talk about David being publicly intoxicated while on camera is the old saying, when people show you who they are, believe them. This is not the first time that David is doing something that he really shouldn't be doing at a very inopportune time. He lost his belt due to sniffing coke, then he lost it again because he missed the weight.
Now he's drinking ahead of a camp.
You tell yourself that the fight with Vosdick, what's supposed to be the fight with Vosdick, it's all the way out there towards the end of June, so he has time.
Doesn't make it any better.
Because where is your head at? It's not on fighting, it's not on staying as sharp as you possibly can be.
It can't be.
And if Benavidez were to go into the ring with Canelo and find him, that chin might not matter because Benavidez has epic power.
Not epic enough to knock out Caleb Plant.
He has the kind of punching power that, you go to sleep at night thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not sure where I've seen that before. He detonated Demetrius Andrade, blew him up. And I thought Andrade, because of his craft, was more or less knockout proof.
No, I didn't. He's been knocked down before.
He got knocked down by a journeyman earlier in the year, right before he fought David. So what do you mean you thought he was knockout proof?
So I walked out of the arena that night thinking, when have I seen the kind of explosive power that David Benavidez just showed me? Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson. Those are the kinds of fighters who demonstrated that kind of power. And oh, by the way, I think there's a strong chance that David Benavidez will eventually in his career be fighting as a heavyweight and will become the first, forgive me, Andy Ruiz, the first serious and great heavyweight championship contender among Mexican Americans.
I don't. I think David is going to make fools out of all of you. Fools of you all for putting him on a pedestal for doing little more than pouncing on a naturally smaller, older, light-punching Demetrius Andrade. That's what I think. America's penchant for hyping up the most undeserving of athletes, the most undeserving of fighters.
Slaves to the moment.
Like I said, when people show you who they are, believe them. This kid was fucking up before. It looks like he's fucking up now.
And I love Jim Lampley.
I really do. But I think he's way off base with his assertion that David's got what it takes to make it as a heavyweight when here and now, we don't know if he has what it takes to make it as a light heavyweight.
A cruiserweight.
A bridger, let alone a heavy. These gross overestimations of what David is capable of are all based on knee-jerk reactions to a fight that he was supposed to win. He was always supposed to be able to beat a Demetrius Andrade because Demetrius Andrade had a lot of unanswered questions and only one fight. Just one fight as a super middleweight for that, because he beat him there. I'm supposed to think he can bang with the big boys at heavyweight.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
It's only fitting that Jim Lampley's comments come to us at a time where David Benavidez himself was publicly inebriated, intoxicated, while the cameras were rolling.
Truthfully, I didn't think he had what it takes to make it at those weights before I saw that video, much less afterwards.
He's got some questions to answer very soon at 175 pounds, and he doesn't better his chances by attacking his own liver.
But hey, it's your life. Do what you want.